Welcome back to Pack the Rock Podcast, episode 10. I'm your host, Carlo Barone, joined by Evan Gerike and Max Parker of the Hoosier Network. Guys, we definitely expected that result, but I don't know. 56-14 is pretty rough.
I was very close on my prediction.
Yeah, you were. You were very close.
57-13, did I say?
Yeah. 1 point off.
That's pretty impressive.
Nice.
That's probably the closest of anyone this year, unless we've gotten it right.
I'd have to imagine we have not. We would know if we got it right. I think that's the best prediction of the year so far.
Thanks, guys.
Good job, Max.
Thanks.
He knows a thing or two. So, I mean, we can get right into it. I wasn't at the game. I was in Nashville. You guys were. What did you guys see?
Yeah, well, the road trip there was lovely. We got up about 6:15. Max, myself, and our photographer, also Max, headed out to Columbus. We had a little bit of snow on the way, so we saw some snow.
Yes.
We went to a McDonald's on the way back. We saw 5 buses pull up of Indiana.
A lot of buses.
Well, we thought it was the Indiana team, and then the bus drivers came in, and they're like, sorry, McDonald's, can you accommodate all the people on those buses? And they were like, just kidding, it's just the bus drivers. So we saw 5 bus drivers with Indiana hats on.
Yeah.
We stopped at a gas station rest stop on the way home, and
They had silly hats.
they did. And then we got back around 9:30, 10.
Yeah. Oh, you want to know about the game? Oh. Was that funny or?
No, that was great. I'm glad that you went through the whole
You're
thing.
making a face at me like
This
you're
is the
not
more
entertained.
important stuff, right? Like, we need to show the fans the behind the scenes of what the Hoosier Net puts in to bring the content that we do.
Where's the air conditioning in here?
Is
I
there
need
air
to turn
conditioning?
This
the
room's
temperature
always
down.
pretty.
I'm toasty.
Yeah,
Anyway,
it's so warm.
The stadium was very cool. And I keep getting distracted.
Yeah,
Yes,
it was-
the stadium was very cool. And I mean, just baseline takeaway, the Hoosiers got dominated by a really, really strong team.
Yeah, I mean, somehow, despite it being a 40-point loss, it really didn't feel like a miserable game to cover. One, because you just get to watch Ohio State be magic, and they are so good, so it's kind of fun to watch them. And it felt relatively quick. Like, it didn't feel like it was dragging out. I didn't feel like I was in a lot of pain watching it, like I sometimes am. So as far as a 56-14 loss can go, it wasn't that bad.
Mm-hmm.
From
And obviously, there's a few decent storylines we're going to talk about here in a minute that also made it a little bit more notable for Indiana.
Mm-hmm.
I was actually able to watch not a decent chunk of the game, but I watched some of the first half and then I watched some of the second half. From what I saw, it looked pretty rough. What I noticed right away is that whenever Ohio State ran the ball, they got whatever they wanted.
They sure did.
Every single time.
Yeah.
Even when they had wide receivers in the backfield taking runs, they had success. Like, I mean, I'm looking at the stats here. 340 rushing yards to 322 passing yards, 662 yards of total offense is wow. That is just when you have more rushing yards than passing yards and there's a 3 in front of that number, that's pretty impressive.
Yeah.
Against any team. So
And it just felt like that front line for Indiana just got no push. Even on pass plays, there was just no pressure. CJ Stroud had all the time in the world, and the offensive line for Ohio State was able to just push open any holes they wanted to leave it wide open for the running backs. And, of course, Indiana did not tackle well at all. There was that 170-yard run play when it looked like Indiana was on skates. I mean, it's embarrassing, really, the way you could even consider it, like covering, trying to tackle. I mean, they had no chance. Just from the beginning, it was pretty clear that they just didn't have a chance.
Yeah. I'm just kind of trying to tally up the tackles that Indiana had for loss. They only had, as a group, 4 tackles for loss, no sacks. So they weren't able to stop the run game, much less create any sort of pressure on CJ Stroud. And then even when they were able to I think there were a few times when they were able to get into the backfield, but even then, that's where the talent of CJ Stroud showed, and he was able to move outside the pocket. But again, only for the most part, I think when he did move outside the pocket, he ended up just using his legs to extend the play and then find someone, one of those fantastic wide receivers was able to get open. Because CJ Stroud only had 4 attempted rushes for 9 total yards. So, and one of those yards, I guess he did get taken down for like no gain a few times because he had 9 total yards.
Back to the line of scrimmage.
Yeah, lost 1. He had a long of 8. So obviously that means that all those 9 yards came on one play. So they were able to get like the tiniest bit of pressure, but not really.
No, not
4 times, or 4 times if they're forcing him to run out of a lot.
They had 4 quarterback hurries, which is a shockingly low number.
Yep.
Jesus. Not even like hits or sacks. It's like hurries.
Yeah.
No hits,
Oh
no
my
sacks. Which is a great way to keep your quarterback healthy. Indiana should take note. When you have a healthy quarterback, you're pretty good. Washington.
Invest in your offensive line. You see what happens with Mike Penix leading the number 1 passing offense in all of college football, getting that upset win against Oregon. And you see CJ Stroud gets even thought about pressured 4 times, and now we're on to our 3rd quarterback this season.
Yeah.
Crazy how that works. It's crazy also.
4th, technically.
You're right. Yes, 4.
Cannot forget about Brendan Sorsby.
Yeah.
And his 3 drives that picked up 4 yards or whatever.
He also got sacked his first 2 plays of his career.
Yeah, that was a
Nice.
rough debut.
Also shows from a bigger picture, it kind of shows what the top of the Big Ten football programs versus one of the bottom, what that can do for a program. Now, I'm not saying Indiana isn't trying to turn it around, but when Ohio State's had sustained success in recruits and money and all that stuff with NFL, it's hard to compete with a program like that, especially with them. Penn State, Michigan now is getting back into the groove of being an elite program. It's tough for Indiana to win any of those games, and considering they played Ohio State, Michigan, and Penn State all in 1 year because they're all in the East. It's crazy how good the Big Ten East is compared to the West.
Mm-hmm.
It is mind-blowing.
Well, it's been that way for forever.
But it's just
like the West is bad this year. It's Purdue and Illinois battling out for the top spot, and Purdue's kind of in the seat. That would be fun if Indiana spoils. Purdue's
my gosh, that would make their
Big
whole
Ten
season.
championship possibilities. But
that would be quite a sight for Hoosier fans and quite a not sight for all the Purdue fans and my best friends that are Purdue fans. I don't know why, but I hope that they don't make it. So obviously Ohio State is much better than IU. We knew this going into the game, but Marvin Harrison Jr., man, what a game. That one catch he had on the sideline, I don't even know how he got his foot in or even thinking of getting it in.
The pictures of the way his body
that looked wildly
crazy,
uncomfortable.
absolutely crazy.
How is it watching you? You guys watched that play? How is that?
From where I was like, "There's no way that is in." But it was.
It's a little bit of like awe at just like, okay, I'm watching.
His body was like, hold up. His body was like this way, and then his leg was like that way. He was like that.
It didn't make a whole lot of sense.
I can't bend that much.
Max, actually, I wasn't looking. Do you mind doing that again?
Sure. His body was this way, and his leg was that way, and here's the out of bounds.
But like way more flexible than Max is.
Yeah, I'm not, and I'm decently flexible.
Let's go, Max.
He had 7 catches for 135 yards.
I don't want to compare my flexibility either to Marvin Harrison Jr.
It's probably
long. 58 too.
I couldn't tell you.
He's a great player.
I couldn't tell you like who all the top wide receivers are, but he's obviously got a really good chance to win the Blitnikoff this year, and he's still got another year of college eligibility before he gets drafted. So some team is gonna be very excited to draft him when it comes to the draft next year. Also, I do want to Cameron Babb. That was a big story. He caught his first career touchdown pass after 4 torn ACLs that made him miss 3 seasons, and he wears that number 0 that is it's their block O number, which is kind of like IU has the Taliaferro number. They select someone to wear 44. That's the same thing for Ohio State with that number 0, kind of a big deal, and obviously just been a tough career for him. But seeing him get that touchdown catch and seeing what it meant to him just as soon as he scored is a big deal. I know they talked about C.J. Stroud, I think it was a run option or something that they called, and C.J. Stroud was like, no, we're going to get him a touchdown, which says a lot about your opponent when you can just be like, oh, we're going to get this guy a touchdown, and you do it immediately after. But that was a really cool moment to see him get that.
Yeah.
Nonetheless, that was cool to watch. I didn't really understand it at first, but then I think the sideline reporter or someone explained it about how 4 knee surgeries, 5th-year player hasn't got a touchdown, finally gets it. I mean,
it was a great story.
It was just the game was already out of that point. It was just great to see, honestly, as a person, with good morals.
Yeah.
Another storyline within this game, Connor Bazelak was benched in, I believe, after the second drive or third drive, something
Which
like that.
At this point it is 21-0.
Yeah. The game was almost over. You said last week on the podcast that for Indiana to win, they might just quit at halftime, and I don't think they even made it to halftime.
Not even close.
With that. So,
no.
But anyway, Dexter Williams replaces him, leads a touchdown on the first drive of the game that he's in to A.J. Barner, one of their only 2 touchdowns on the day. Do you guys think he's going to stay the starter for their last 2 games?
It would be stupid not to. And here's why. You've seen enough of Connor Bazelak now. You know he's not going to provide you anything new to help your team win. Dexter Williams, he was 6 for 19 with 107 yards on Saturday, which isn't great, but he also started 5 of 9, which is decent. When you're playing Ohio State, that's pretty good. So he kind of struggled towards the end, and a lot of that is just, okay, here's your first time getting significant reps. Go play Ohio State, which is not an easy task, so you can't really discredit him for that. But he showed flashes of potential that we haven't seen from a quarterback since Michael Penix, and we've seen a lot of quarterbacks since Michael Penix. I mean, even like Donovan McCulley was a very similar style quarterback to Dexter Williams, but couldn't throw like Williams can. I mean, he had a few long passes. He had the 46-yarder, the 49-yarder to Kobe Anderson. He had that 28-yarder to Malachi Holt-Bennett. And at least 1 or 2 more. I know one to Donovan McCulley that was right on the money and has got broken up. That may be a team who's not as good as Ohio State. You get a couple more of those big passes. His arm strength is real. It's there. You can see it. And he also has the ability to leave the pocket that we did not see. We saw a little bit from Tuttle. We haven't seen from Bazelak. Leaving the pocket like that allows a quarterback to kind of freeze the defense because they have to respect if you scramble right, they can't just charge at you or go down in coverage. They have to respect the fact that you might scramble. Similar to what we're seeing with Justin Fields in Chicago, and I know Max is very excited about that.
Go Bears.
Obviously, I'm not comparing Dexter Williams to Justin Fields talent-wise, at least not yet.
But
the style is there.
And it's a similar kind of situation. The much maligned Bears offensive line, the way that they've kind of been able to get away from that is designing runs for Justin Fields. And what I was going to say is for Connor Bazelak, he may still very much find success at some point. But
he may very well be a better quarterback than Dexter Williams right now. Mm-hmm. But he doesn't fit Indiana.
He's a pocket passer, and they are not set up to pocket pass because they can't keep a pocket.
I don't know if this is you or someone else that said this to me, Max, but someone was like, with Connor Bazelak, Indiana are the Colts. Bad.
I did not say that.
Someone said this to me. They're the Colts. They're bad. Their offensive line is bad. They can't do anything. With Dexter Williams, they could be the Bears. They're bad. The offensive line is bad, but that quarterback is special. And that's if you're Tom Allen, that is the future of this program. That is the way you move forward and get some success. And I think it's a very bad decision to start anyone else. And I kind of get why you would start Connor Bazelak this week. Obviously, he was injured. It's hard to take away someone's starting job because of injury, or at least coming out of injury. Obviously, maybe you do it because he hasn't been playing well. I also wonder how long the leash was supposed to be on Connor Bazelak. Was it, okay, we're down 21-0. This game's kind of out of reach. Let's do something different. Or was it, we've had 3 drives. You haven't looked good at all. Let's try something different. So I don't really know how long we would have seen him in a closer game.
Yeah.
But Dexter Williams came in. Tom Allen talked about how he liked what he saw out of Dexter Williams and gave him the rest of the game and see what he does. And hopefully it's a big learning moment. They talked about ways he can review the footage and get better with his footwork and with the way he throws and stuff like that. That will allow him to take some steps forward. But he's playing a team that is not nearly as good this weekend with Michigan State.
Yeah, and it sounds like that is kind of a philosophy they're holding with multiple different players. Is like, as you mentioned, Evan, Coach Allen kind of said that was, at least what he said was that was the plan, is that Dexter Williams was at least going to get a shot, like a drive or something, and they were going to go with who they felt best with. I got a chance to talk to Carter Smith today, who was he's a true freshman offensive lineman who got some run because Joshua Sales was out. It was going to be Parker Hanna or Carter Smith. He said Coach Carey kind of had a similar mindset to what we heard for the most part about that Bazelak-Williams dynamic, was that they were going to give this true freshman a shot. They were going to put both Hanna in and Carter Smith. And when I was talking to Carter, he just said, they put me in, and I guess they like what they saw because they ran with it.
He got 61 snaps. Parker Hanna got 7.
Yeah. So clearly, I mean, I don't know how long. Well, I guess the first offensive drive was 4 plays, and then the next one was 3. So there's your
pretty much. He pretty much got
he got
2
the
and a half
first 2 drives.
So.
But it just sounds like overall that may be the mindset going forward. Is they have a lot of young guys and they have talented young players. Carter Smith was a 3-star recruit. They have another guy, I believe his last name is Moore. I think it's Richard Moore. He was a 3-star recruit coming in this year. And Coach Allen was also asked about kind of if that's, I believe you asked that question, may have been someone else, but like,
it was me.
What are you going to do the rest of the year? Are you going to kind of continue doing this kind of style of just trying different guys out? And his answer was, yeah, with the way redshirt is structured now, where you can play guys 4 games and still not burn their red shirt. Why not? And, I'm all for that. I fully support that philosophy. At this point, you're not making a bowl. Your
season's over.
Your season's over. I mean, sure, you could take back the old brass spittoon and
the bucket.
But aside from that, you might as well see what you have for next year, because you got a whole new season next year you got to deal with. So why not try your guys that you have on the roster?
I wrote about it a little bit in my article. You can't tank in college football.
Correct.
The Bears and the Colts can play poorly and then get a CJ Stroud or a whatever else top player they want.
Mm-hmm.
In college football, if you play bad, no one wants to play for you. So it's kind of the best anti-tanking system there is. That you have to be good to get good players.
Yep.
And maybe, I don't know, maybe NFL and whatever should look into a system more like that, where if you're the first team that misses the playoff, you get the first pick. But that's not really the point of this podcast. The point is, if you're Tom Allen, you have to prove something on the field that will make players in the future be like, okay, I still want to play for this team, whether that's honestly even your current players or your incoming recruits.
Yeah.
Tom Allen did a really good job of keeping this recruiting class committed after a really bad season last year. 2 seasons in a row is going to be harder to do that. Mm-hmm. Players love to buy into Tom Allen's system. We know this. But, what is there for them to stay in this program? And that is what you have to figure out. And that is hopefully what you can do in these next couple of weeks by putting out the Carter Smiths and the Dexter Williams and the, whoever else that we haven't seen much of onto the field.
I think from a recruiting perspective, the next 2 weeks are huge because he did say in the press conference after how he's going to start playing younger guys, and he did do that towards the end of the Ohio State game. But let's just say in a scenario, let's say IU goes out and wins one of these last 2 games, especially if they beat Purdue at home. That's great for the recruiting because the players are going to know that they're not playing their week 1 players in order to win that game. So it's going to give the recruits or even the guys on the team that are on the fence about leaving hope that, if we play like this every game, maybe we can be good.
It's also 2 Big Ten wins, which doesn't sound like much, but it is a lot more than last year. So it's something. Listen, if next week the experiment works and what if you rattle off 2 wins? Probably not going to happen, but then you finish the season 5-7, and all of a sudden we're talking about things a lot differently.
If they win the last 2, that would be
something.
Wow.
Also, you're questioning a lot of decisions that this coaching staff has made that led them to, all these guys are now winning you games. Why didn't you put them in sooner? But that's kind of besides the point. That's also assuming that they win the games, which is...
Also, if they win the last 2 games, which I know we're doing a lot of what-ifs here, but if they do that, then Nebraska loss and the other losses, the Rutgers loss, they look a lot worse because then you'd be 1 game out of bowl eligibility.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
so.
But I think at this point you need to. I mean, just looking at last year when they went 2-10, I'm looking at the 247 Sports recruiting page. I mean, you got to scroll through. There are a lot of guys who transferred in, and there are going to be a lot of guys this next year who are going to be looking for a new place to play. And so you want to give them a reason to do that.
Mm-hmm.
You know, that you want to give them a reason to say, hey, come to Indiana. I know we had a rough season last year, but we finished the year with 2 Big Ten wins. You saw the young guys that were playing starting to succeed more. Come be a part of that rebuild.
The problem with that, however, is a lot of these guys have not had great seasons for Indiana. Rylan Lanier is kind of the top guy on this list. Has been okay, hasn't been a standout. Anderson Kope's kind of been the 3rd, 4th wide receiver. Emery Simmons as well. Yeah, I mean, Parker Hanna's, it got benched. Obviously, that was a little bit different. He came out of a small school and didn't pan out. And Cam Camper is obviously your big get this year. Maybe even Josh Henderson. I think they're giving Josh Henderson a little bit more run here lately, and I think that's kind of working out.
I think they should too.
Yeah, I mean, how many he had 7 attempts, which was second on the. Sean Shivers had 8, but. That's the one thing is that they've got to get better results out of these recruits, and these guys that transfer in, and they haven't gotten that as much as you'd like to see so far.
Yep. Yeah. So I mean, the last 2 weeks are definitely going to be very important on that front. But moving on to Michigan State, I know they had a rocky start to their season, but they have won 3 of the last 4. With one of those games being against Illinois. I know I said it a couple times during the year that if Indiana is going to win a Big Ten game on the road that they're not supposed to win, it will be the Michigan State game, but I don't know if I want to say that anymore based off the recent developments of the Indiana team and the rising developments within MSU over the last month. I mean, how do you guys see this one panning out? I don't think the Hoosiers are going to get blown out like they have the last 2 weeks, but I think they will compete. What do you guys think?
Yeah, Michigan State has a lot to play for too. They're 1 game away from bowl eligibility, so there's that motivation.
And they've got Penn State after that, so
yeah. So this is a big game for them. This is a really big game for them, and this is going to be a real test of how much can head coach Tom Allen keep this team bought in to their message. Because right now, again, you're out of bowl eligibility. Now you don't even have a chance if you win the last 2 games. So now you kind of need to find a reason to motivate these guys. You know, you need to find a way to you need to find a reason for them to fight.
One additional way that Tom Allen can do that he hasn't been able to do much of the season is now you've got your starters and you can say, hey, you better play well or I'm pulling you for this freshman.
Yeah.
That might help some of them play a little bit better. You know, you don't want to get Parker Hanna'd, to borrow from the classic Lou Gehrig phrase. You just don't like, you've got to kind of use that of like, okay, you know, we're going to trust a lot of our guys. We may see someone new start, but I have a feeling it's going to be the same starters except for the quarterback maybe, and go from there. And it's like, well, if you don't want to, bust your ass and play well this week, well, I've got a freshman who hasn't appeared once all season that would love to get out there. Let's see what he does instead of you. And, maybe there goes your job for next year too if he plays well. So hopefully that's a little bit of motivation. But this Michigan State side has improved. Obviously their defense is kind of their weak point. So hopefully Dexter Williams at quarterback can kind of find some holes that Indiana hasn't been able to poke through all season.
I think they've got a shot. I think Indiana absolutely has a shot. That's not something I've said in the past few weeks, obviously against way stronger competition. But if you look at what Michigan State has done throughout the year, aside from their non-con games, they kept it close for a while against Washington, who obviously just took down Oregon. And then in these big games against Michigan, Ohio State, they got the doors blown off. But they took down Illinois, a team that Indiana beat as well. They beat Rutgers, but a lot of these teams that they're beating are keeping it close. Wisconsin kept it close, and that one went into overtime. So I don't think it's out of the realm of possibility for Indiana to keep it close.
No, I don't think so either. Should we jump to predictions? You have something you want to add?
I was going to say, I think they're going to keep it. I think this game's going to be close, but I'm glad, Max, you mentioned that they're one game away from bowl eligibility, because that means they're gonna want it. I think both these teams have something to play for, but I think Michigan State has a little bit more to play for. Them being at home, I think they'll end up coming out on top, as we're gonna get to predictions here in a sec. But I don't think it's gonna be that far off. Like you mentioned, the last games have been close. Wisconsin, they won by 6. Michigan State or Illinois, they won by 8. All one-score games. So a couple things go the wrong way, and Michigan State's well out of bowl eligibility, and you're talking about them being in the same ranks as Indiana. But they did win those games, and here we are. So on to predictions now. It's going to be hard here to change kind of how the rest of the season goes. I assume you guys are both picking the opposing teams to win the last 2 weeks. So I haven't really thought about this. Well, maybe we'll see.
I don't know.
But we should throw a wrinkle in for the last 2 weeks to make it interesting, because let's be honest, I don't think Indiana's going to win this week, and I would have a hard time picking them next week against Purdue. More out of my spite of Purdue, but I don't think I think Indiana's going to lose the last 2. So let's throw a wrinkle in there so we can get these standings.
We should mention the standings. Carl and I are tied at 8-2. Max is a game behind at 7-3. And that is only because we pestered him to changing his prediction that Indiana would beat Cincinnati. He did originally predict that IU would lose that game, and then we got a little bit too hyped with anticipation, and then we pestered Max into changing it. So
Good job, Evan. Let's
yeah. So Carlo, you should really pick Indiana to win the next 2 weeks.
Yeah, you should.
Yeah. Oh.
Do we want to do a bonus point for whoever gets the closest score for the next?
How do we do that, though? Should we do
so if we all pick MSU to win, and let's say they do, instead of being 9-2, 8-3, 9-2, if Max picks a point off again, then he gets an extra point, and he's 9-3.
Maybe what if you're within 5 points of the total score?
What about for the last 2 games, how many points off from your prediction? So you are 1 point off this week. So say this week you're 2 points off, and next week you're 4. You will have 6. Whoever has the lowest score the last 2 weeks wins.
Okay.
Yeah.
I like that.
So yeah, I feel like it's the only
Nice.
good way. But I will say though, Max is a game behind. So how are we gonna do with this?
We'll figure that out.
All right, we'll
Maybe I need to win by 1. Maybe wait.
Win by 1?
Huh?
That's usually how you win, is at least by 1.
I'm confused.
Okay,
This is way too much thinking.
it is. This is.
If anyone at home wants to come up with a formula for us,
Please let us know.
or you just have to be bold and do a different prediction to try to catch up.
Maybe I am
Maybe you
going
are.
to.
All right. Do you guys? Who wants to start with predictions?
I can start. I'll go first and throw myself out there. Yeah, I just think Indiana's hasn't proved anything over the past however long that'll suggest they'll beat Michigan State. Although you do think that if Dexter Williams gets a start, this team has got a little bit more positive energy, a little bit more of an upset chance. So I mean, if as a fan, you should be more excited to watch him for sure. But I still am going to lean Michigan State. Carlo and I will be in the press box. You'll be in the radio booth as well, right, Max? So we're all going to be at Michigan State as we head into Thanksgiving break. I'm going to go 30-21 Michigan State.
Okay. Carlo has already typed into the document that I'm choosing Michigan State. You ready for this? 24-23 Indiana.
Wow. You are going bold.
I got to make a move. I'm down 1. And something that stuck out to me, talking to Carter Smith, a guy who just got his first opportunity, he was fired up. He was super positive. So what if these guys who are getting new opportunities, they're motivated to show the coaching staff that they can play. They're motivated to show the coaching staff that they belong on the field. They go in and get the feeling of keeping that brass spittoon and also taking away their rival, Michigan State, preventing them from going to a bowl.
That would be fun. I also I want to note Indiana has, in the last 6 games, they've crossed 20 points twice. And one of those is 21 points against Nebraska. 33 against Maryland. Obviously a little bit different there. But, if they keep the offensive pattern they've had.
Wait, say that again. In the last when?
In the last 6 games, they've scored 20 points twice.
Okay.
6 games ago, they scored 21 against Nebraska and then 33 against Maryland.
But outside of Rutgers, who have they not scored 20 points against? Michigan, Penn State, Ohio State.
This is true.
So
also, the point I was getting towards was if they have to change something up on offense. And hopefully putting in Dexter Williams gets that offense going a little bit more.
Yep.
To get them to kind of break that.
And when he
drought.
gets a little ease up on the defensive strengths, Michigan State, obviously not as good of a defense as Penn State or Ohio State.
Bold take.
I think he gets those points.
Wow.
Lock it in.
It's locked in, Max. Wow. All right. I'm for that. I'm going to pick Michigan State to win 28-24. I went back and forth of the last minute of what the IU score was going to be. And I had a couple typed out, but I think they'll get over 20 points. You only mentioned they've done that like twice the last couple, like 6 games you said, or Evan said. I think they're going to lose. I think they're going to compete, but I think it'll be closer than people think. Max has them winning. I think they will lose I don't want to say a heartbreaker, but maybe this
a nail biter.
A nail biter.
Maybe.
They'll lose a nail biter. They're going to go back to Bloomington. They're going to let this sink in, and they're going to get ready to take it all out on the Boilermakers.
Wow.
After Thanksgiving.
Okay.
Happy Thanksgiving.
Also,
Maybe. Happy Thanksgiving.
I'm just continuing to look at the schedule. Another point, they are 0-4 on the road this year. They are going to Michigan State, so.
Hey,
but you got Purdue at home.
We have to go to Michigan. We have to drive to Michigan State.
Are we driving together?
Yes.
I'm gonna shut up.
Good idea.
That was shut up.
Yeah, we're going to do another HN road trip to Michigan State, leaving on Saturday morning, bright and early Saturday morning. Noon kick. Well, we did it last week, Carlo, so. There's also...
What? What else were you going to say?
What was I going to say?
Happy Halloween.
It's not.
Whoa,
It's in
Thanksgiving?
the middle of November.
Dude, happy Valentine's Day.
I'm doing a Friendsgiving today, so happy Thanksgiving.
Oh, that's actually fire.
Yeah, that's fun.
All right, well, noon kick for the game. We'll get up bright and early to get there for all the coverage for the Hoosier Network. I've been your host, Carlo Barone, joined by Max Parker and Evan Gerike of the Hoosier Network. We'll see if Indiana can get it done against Michigan State on Saturday. And then we got our final week when they play Purdue the following Saturday, which will probably be at home doing the podcast on StreamYard, and they're really weirdly waving. But that is all we have for today. Thank you for tuning in to Pack the Rock Podcast, episode 10. We will see you guys next week.